Happy video day, guys, and happy Make Up Your Mind day. So today we're doing another Make Up Your Mind. I know you guys just saw one, but I could not resist doing a Make Up Your Mind on the new Natasha Denona Glam palette because it just finished getting announced. The swatches came out, everything came out, and I'm like, I need to do this ASAP. So this is the big version of the mini glam, which I love the mini glam. So this palette is gonna retail you $65 US. It's a midi size for Natasha, so that's her middle range palettes. It's launching today, so I'm going to have it linked down below, and it's also going to be at Sephora. Everything will be linked down below in case you guys are interested in this palette. Because of course, guys, I'm really considering purchasing this palette. It looks so stunning to me. And a lot of you guys know, if you know my channel, I love Natasha Denona's formula. I also really just love her color stories. I feel like she's a very creative artist when it comes to creating palettes. So everything about this really caught my attention. But of course, I always decide before I buy, I decide to do my Make Up Your Minds in order to kind of look at the color story and determine whether this is a color story that I really need in my collection. Do I have this color story already? Is it really something that I want to add? And also, do I like the looks that I can create using this palette? So I went ahead and went through my entire collection to try to mimic this palette as best as I can. And guys, this one is interesting. I'm just gonna say that. But this week I did post this picture up on my Instagram and I asked you guys, do you guys know what palette I'm trying to mimic this week? And these are some of the people who guessed it right. And I'm figuring that a lot of you guys probably knew I was gonna do this palette because you know my love for Natasha, and I just needed to know, do I need this? So if you guys are excited to see my results and go through the entire color story of this palette together, then just keep on watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new and you've never seen me before. I do my Make Up Your Minds every single week on brand new releases. So all right, guys, let's get into this video and let's see what I found. Alright guys, so I always start off this video by showing you guys the results. So these are the results. These are the colors that I was able to find in my collection. I also had to mix a few colors together to kind of really mimic this color story so that we can get an idea of what it's going to look like. So this is what I came up with. This is how close I was able to get. And I'm going to tell you, for the most part, I think I was able to get a lot of these colors pretty spot on. There's a few of them that I had to mix in order to really come up with a color that looked kind of similar, but for the most part I was able to find a lot of these shades. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the palettes that I used in order to kind of mimic this palette, and there's quite a few palettes. I'm not somebody who has a lot of cool tones in my collection, so that's why I saw this palette. I was like, ooh, I can't have too many of those. So I did have to jump into a lot of palettes to actually get cool tones, but I jumped into Soft Glam for one color. KKW Mario palette gave me a few colors. The Wild Nothing from ColourPop, I got one color from here. Natasha Denona's Gold palette gave me like two colors. I did use this Pat McGrath pigment. It's the Mercury pigment. I think it was part of her Dark Matter collection. The Huda Beauty Smoky Obsessions was a nice little add-on here. Mini Glam from Natasha Denona gave me pretty similar tones. And then finally, the color palette that I think gave me the most was this one from Pixie. And this palette is actually called the Natural Beauty palette, and it's one of my most cool tone palettes, and it gave me a lot of the tones. So those are all the palettes that I had to go into. I would tell you guys, if you guys own the ABH Sultry, or if you have the original Naked palettes, look at those. Any that have cool tones and kind of like, you know, you could probably find some similar tones in those. I don't own either one of those, so these are the palettes that gave me these cool tones. So now that you guys have seen the palettes, let's get into the first color. All right, so for the first color, it looks like this one is going to be a rosy pink. So what I did was I jumped into Anastasia and I grabbed this color called Rose Pink, one of my favorite colors ever. And I just, you know, like when you really, really love a color, you really love a color. This is one of those colors. So I love a rose pink. I feel like it's going to be similar to this one. It actually might even be lighter than this color. I love this tone. I'm not mad at it being in this palette. I actually think that this type of pink went really good with this very cool tone palette. Happy to see it in here. Yeah, I own it. I think I just got another palette that has a similar tone too, but it's beautiful. For the next one, I actually jumped into this Pixie palette, and like I said, this Pixie palette's what gave me a lot of these cool tones. What I did was I jumped into this second tone right here, and I mixed it with this bottom tone right here. So I had to mix those two together in order to come up with a color that was semi-similar to what she came out with. Now, I love this tone. I think it's beautiful. And I think that these two colors together are just magnificent. Like, they're just beautiful. The only thing is I wish one of them was not a metallic. I wish one of them was a matte, because I just feel like together these are gorgeous. If we go on, so the next one, what I did was I jumped into the Wild Nothing palette, and there's this color called Spirited right here. It's a very pretty, almost champagne-y gold, and I love this color Spirited, but it's not very saturated. And I know Natasha's formulas are super saturated, so I am looking forward to that tone in her palette. I've told you guys in the past, I love champagne-y golds. I'm not a big yellow gold girl, and I feel like everything lately has been yellow gold. I'm like so tired of seeing yellow gold that I don't want to see it again. You know, so champagne-y gold, we are on a good route here. This is beautiful, and I did hear her mention something that I've actually said in the past as well. I like to see the golds that you would actually use as highlights on the face. Those are the type of golds I love, like those champagne-y tones, and she actually said that one of these tones was similar to that. I don't know if it's this one, but first three tones, gorgeous. Okay, so if I went on to the next one, it was inside of Pixie. This color right here at the edge, this is a really pretty, very cool tone brown. It almost looks like a gray, but it's like a really cool tone brown. Gorgeous. I love this tone as well. This is one of the tones that I actually used in this eye look. All the looks that I usually create during Make Up Your Mind are kind of looks that you could create if you purchase the palette, because I did use colors that I picked here. So I did use this tone all over the lid, kind of like to use as a blending shade. What a gorgeous tone. I love it. Very cool tone, very pretty, nice tone. I'm happy so far. The first four tones, I do, and I just don't feel like I've seen this a million times over. Like, of course, there's cool tone palettes out there, but that I can say that, wow, what a pretty cool tone palette. Lately, I have not been able to say that. This is going in a great direction. If it keeps going in this route, I think I'm in big trouble. For the next one, what I did was I looked at her swatches, and I think the swatches that I'll probably use during this Make Up Your Mind are going to be her live swatches from her Instagram, because I've noticed with Natasha Denona, her website swatches, they're just usually too dark. They're not as good as her Insta story swatches. So I'll probably use her Insta story swatches. I feel like they're usually more true to color. The color that I picked was this one. It's more of a creamy white. I think hers might have a little bit of a more gray undertone than even this one has, but the swatch on her website makes this look gray, and I don't think this is going to be gray. This is going to be kind of like a cream with a little gray undertone. So I think it's going to be more in this route. If it is, very pretty color, another nice tone. I think it's gonna look really good with all of these. Was it 100% needed in my personal opinion? I guess maybe, because if you're using a lot of these really dark deepening shades, like a lot of these darker browns that she included in here, they're very deep, cool tone browns. It is nice to add a little bit of lightness to the inner portion of the eyes, so I can see why it's there. I can see why it's there, so I'm not mad at it. I'm really not. So for the next one, I actually went into the KKW Beauty and Mario palette. And now this tone I actually found in this one right here. And I know a lot of you will probably start to say that you're seeing a little bit too similar tones between these. They are a tad on the similar side. This one and that other cool tone brown, they have enough variation between them to be okay. But there is a little bit of a repetitiveness here with these cool tone browns, which I'll show you on the next, I think it's the one after this one that you'll see. So the next tone actually is another one that I think is very pretty. I believe it's going to look a little bit like Vagabond inside of the ColourPop, what is this, Wild Nothing palette? I think it's going to be similar to Vagabond. It's going to have a cooler tone to it, so it's going to be a little bit of like a skin tone, but a little cooler. A lot of my beiges go so warm. It was so hard for me to find one that went cooler. this is the coolest that I could find inside of this palette. So this tone, believe it or not, which it looks like such a basic tone, I don't think I really have this color. Is it like, I don't know 100% if this color is going to really show up on my lid. So I don't really know if this is like one that would make me buy the palette. I know I don't have it, but I don't know if it would make me buy it because I do feel like this color, it may be too washed of a color. It'll be a good blending shade to blend out shadows, but for it to actually have an impact, probably not. But it's okay. I already like a lot of them. So if we go on to the next one, this is where I thought it got a little bit repetitive. Inside of the Huda Beauty Smoky Obsessions, there is this tone right here at the end, and it's this really, really deep, cool tone brown, and it's extremely deep. So it is deeper than the other two. This is going to be very washed out because I've had these swatches on my arm forever. I feel like this one, and this one, so these three matte cool tone browns, I think that one of them didn't need to be there. The lightest one should have been there, and maybe the deepest one. The one in between, I don't think it was really needed. What I wish she would have included was maybe like a very blush pink matte or something to really, maybe if you wanted to do something on the outer edge and really like blow up a color and add like a color underneath the cool tone, maybe like a really blush pink or something like that, that it could pop out of here. I feel like that was what was missing here. I don't think she needed to put another cool tone brown. So I think there is a little bit of a repetitiveness here. So I'm not thrilled. I wish there was a little bit of a color. So if we keep going, the next color I think is absolutely stunning, and I feel like it's going to be close to this color right here. So this is from Pat McGrath, and this is from her Dark Matter collection, and it was called Mercury. It is a silver. It's not like a liquid metal silver. It has a really, almost like a little bit of a champagne-iness to it. It's a really cool tone. When I swatched this one up against the swatch I saw in her Insta story, I was like, damn, that might be pretty similar. Hers might be a little different, but it's gonna give me a very similar idea. It's the color that I have all over my lid right now, and I love it. I mean, I think it's so pretty. So if it's anything similar to this tone, stunning, like stunning, stunning, stunning. On the outer edge, I actually have the deepest cool tone brown too, which is the one from the Huda Beauty. So I just think that together, you know, everything's coming together. I could see that that's going to be a very, very pretty tone. The next one I actually grabbed out of Huda Beauty as well, and it is this silver right here. This is the only silver I can find in my collection. I don't have many silvers, which is a positive for this palette, but I found this silver and I think it's gonna be kind of similar, but it probably will have a little bit more brown. I don't think she put like a true silver in here. I don't think so. So I think it might have a little bit more brown than this one, but it's gonna be silvery. And I like that. I think it's very pretty. So far, the tone of this palette is very cohesive. It's very pretty. I like that there was these two different silvers. They are different silvers, at least from what I'm seeing in the swatches. I do think they'll look different. If you use this darker silverish tone, your look's gonna go very deep. If you use this one here that's like a champagne-y silver, so it's going on the lighter side, your look is gonna brighten up. So those two do have enough difference, at least from the swatch, that I think that they're going to look very different on the lid. So the next tone is one that I love. Oh my god, I love this tone so much. Like I said, I'm a sucker for like these champagne-y golds, and the tone, I actually found it right here in Natasha Denona's gold palette. I think it's going to be very similar to this color here. Now the gold palette, this color is not like a true metallic. I almost feel like it needed a little bit more to it. So I think that this new palette is actually going to give me that real impact champagne-y gold that I've been dreaming about, because I've really wanted that color in my collection. I think that might be the tone that's going to give me that. It doesn't look like it goes yellow, which, like I said, I'm tired of yellows. I think it's going to go more champagne-y. Now, between this gold and the first gold you saw, I do think there's going to be enough difference to kind of do something different. This one is a little deeper, the other one is lighter. However, there is one more gold in here that I do think was a little bit repetitive, but that one does look really pretty. So that one, actually, I'm pretty excited for. So the next one I actually got out of the gold palette too. So if you look at this tone right here, this tone has something very similar to what I'm seeing in her new palette. To me, this is like one of the warmest browns inside the palette. It actually has a little warmth to it, but it still leans more cool. I think it's going to be a little bit cooler than the one that I found inside of her new palette, but this tone looks pretty similar to that tone. Very pretty. Next to the gold, it looks really pretty too, but in all honesty, would I use those two metallics together? Probably not. They look good together, but I probably wouldn't use them together because, I mean, I don't like to use metallics to like smoke out outer edges and stuff, so it's pretty. But one thing I am noticing about this palette as I've been swatching it and looking at it is there is not many mattes in here. There's a lot of gorgeous metallics, but not very many mattes, which I wish there was more mattes. Like this tone that I just showed you right now, I wish that there was a matte here instead of this tone, because I do feel like there is another tone in here that we're going to get to that's similar to this one already, that this one could have been a matte. So for the next one, this is the one that I told you feels to me a little bit repetitive. There is this color right here up here called Sultan inside of the Wild Nothing. That's almost like a champagne-y gold as well, but it's light. It's like the lightest tone. So it's super light champagne-y gold. I think it's going to be very similar to one of the first shades in this palette. I feel like that shade may look pretty similar to this third shade in the palette. Those two, I think, are going to be like, you know, a tad different, but I don't know if they're going to be so different. I do know that she did mention that one of them was going to have a lot more glitter in it, so it would be like kind of like a more nightshade, and the other one would be a little bit more of like a brow bone shade. If that is the case, then they would do a huge difference on the lid. So I'm going by what she's saying and saying that even though the tones look very similar, one is going to be a little bit more glamorized and the other one's not. So if that's the truth, then I'm still on board. So for the last two is actually where I went into mini glam, and I feel like the last two tones were very mini glam. The next one, I feel like it looks so similar to this amazing color inside of the mini glam. I love this color in the mini glam. So it's it's a very cool tone brown, but I almost see green in it. I don't know. This tone is so pretty. It's very unique. To me, probably one of the most unique colors. Actually, may not look like it, but it is very unique. Now, I do not think that there is such a huge difference between that tone and maybe even the second tone, that both of them needed to be in there. I feel like this is another one that, even though the tone is absolutely stunning, does it have such a big difference to the second tone that was in this palette? I'm not 100% sure that it's going to be a huge difference. So the last tone is another one that I think is absolutely stunning, but at the same time, it is another one of those very light champagne-y colors that may look kind of similar to, like I said, to the third one, also to the one down here. So there's three very light champagne-y golds in here that hopefully they do enough of a difference. I think two of them might actually look pretty similar, and one of them might have a lot more glitter in it, so it might make it look different. So that rounds out the palette and all the colors, and I've been looking at this palette for a while, trying to figure out like color story and ideas, and I feel like this is going to give you very beautiful eyes. However, there is a few things to just know about this. There's not that many mattes. So when you're really thinking of creating these eye looks, unless you're somebody who loves to put just a wash of shimmer all over the eye, there's a lot of different metallics in here for you to do that, and you'll have a bunch of different washes all over your lids. But if you're somebody who likes to deepen out outer edges, maybe use different colors to smoke things out, you're gonna have a similar effect to this on almost every lid. Everything is going to look very cool tone brown, because that's basically all you have here to work with when it comes to mattes. I really love this palette because I don't own anything similar to it, but I think that what I was just missing, what I was missing from this palette was a little bit of color, just a wash. Like, she added this gorgeous pink in here. I wish that this pink would have translated a little bit more into the rest of the palette from what I'm seeing color story wise. I wish there was just a tad bit more very subtle colors in here that we can use as matte transition shades, a little bit of a defining color. I just wish there was a little bit, nothing like that abnormal metallic or abnormal pop of matte that didn't belong in this palette. I love that she didn't do that, but I just wish there was just a little bit more color, just a little bit. you know? But other than that, color story is absolutely gorgeous. I think that I'm probably going to love this. I do think that this is going to become people's very handy everyday palettes, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a very easy to use everyday palette. You can come up with a bunch of different looks with it. Like I said, very cool tone looks, mostly going to look very brown for the most part, in a cool tone brown manner. It's time for me to make up my mind, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm buying it for sure. I really don't have a hesitation in my mind on whether I want to purchase this or not, because I am the type of person that if I wanted to add those matte pinks, or if I wanted to add other colors, I have absolutely no problem going into other palettes to add that in. And I love Natasha's formula. I think that these cool tones are stuff that we're not seeing every single day on the market, and I feel like to just have a whole cool tone selection from Natasha, in my opinion, is just so worth it, you know? Even if that means that I want to jump into some other palettes for some mattes, I'm good with that. So that's what I think, and that is my answer. I want to know from you guys, are you guys planning on picking up this palette? What do you guys think of this color story? And of course, guys, since I am picking up this palette, I will try to get my first impression and review for you guys up as fast as I possibly can, so you guys can see the palette in action. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe before you leave, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.